Why did 343 drop the ball so bad with Halo 5, at least when it comes to the main story? I put up a quick funny video last night kind of making fun of 343 Studios for the Reclaimer trilogy as they call it, because there was no consistent storytelling between Halos 4, 5, and Infinite. There was some Halo 5 defense in the comments, and I have to preface this video by saying that I don't think Halos 4, 5, or Infinite are bad games. Gameplay-wise, they're fun as hell. The multiplayer is great, as expected in a Halo game, and I think that the self-contained stories that they tell are interesting. They still have interesting characters or interesting aspects about them. I'm saying that as a whole, Halo 4, 5, and Infinite tell a completely jumbled mess of a story. They completely abandon plot lines several times. Or the most insulting thing they would do is tease something and then just kind of wrap it up in a comic that nobody probably read. Halo 5 was the start of this trend. We had all this stuff set up in Halo 4 that could have been paid off really well in Halo 5, and instead it seems like 343 kind of got scared because people weren't necessarily gigantic fans of the Didact and I guess the more Marvel superhero-y type of character that he was, and they just immediately wrote him out of the story. They killed him off in a side comic book, and I think that did a disservice to the story as a whole because he was at least an interesting character. I also think 343 fumbled the ball pretty bad with Cortana. I thought her sacrifice at the end of Halo 4 was great. It was a perfect end to her character, and then sometimes you gotta let a character ride off into the sunset. To bring her back and then suddenly make her the bad guy just felt like it kind of invalidated her whole sacrifice in Halo 4. 343 was also introducing this new character, and there was a big marketing push that we were hunting the Chief, and that did create a lot of intrigue. Like, what happened? What did the Chief do? Why is he on the run? That seemed like it was going to be a really interesting setup, and then in Halo 5, it just kind of fizzles out. Like, there are some elements that we're hunting the Chief in the game, but it just kind of ends with like, oh, okay, we know what you're doing now. It's all cool, bro. And the final flaw was introducing Blue Team only to sideline them and Chief for most of the game. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be like, well, Halo 2 had the Arbiter. Yes, but it felt much more like a 50-50 split between Chief and the Arbiter. And I'm going to be honest, the Arbiter was a very interesting character because it was very interesting to explore the Covenant faction. Playing John Locke and Team Osiris just didn't have that same level of intrigue. They just weren't as interesting as the Chief, so most of those levels were just kind of like, I, to this day, barely remember any of the side characters in Team Osiris. I remember Buck because he was one of the ODSTs in the previous game, but other than that, they were kind of very bland and generic characters. And that brings me to John Locke, which is a shame because I really wanted him to work as a character, but he just kind of plays like generic follow the orders type of soldier, and I feel like we already treaded that territory in Halos 1, 2, and 3 with Chief. With Halo 4 doing a good job of fleshing Chief out more as a character, it felt like we were going to get more of that in Halo 5, especially with that first mission, and then it just kind of switches to this generic team of soldiers, and it just loses all intrigue for me. So we just kind of abandoned the villain of the first game, we invalidated Cortana's sacrifice, and we introduced a whole new cast of characters and kind of sidelined the character everybody was interesting about. And that's why I think 343 dropped the ball with Halo 5.